Oh! No! Fuck! Get up, Izzy! Get up, nigga! Fuck! Fuck! God damn it! Fuck! God damn it!
Alright, so Israel Adesanya just got dropped and stopped by Nasruddin Imavov during their fight at UFC Saudi Arabia, and I personally think that we have reached the point in Izzy's career where it's time for him to retire. Let's talk about the fight really quickly. I actually gave the first round to Izzy. I mean, he simply outpointed Nasruddin, and it's not like he landed any big shots, but it was a typical Adesanya first round where if he doesn't see an opening to hurt his opponent in a big way, he'll settle for winning the round by fighting passively while also downloading information. That being said, the second round lasted officially all of 30 seconds as Imavov blasted Adesanya with a picture-perfect right hand that planted Izzy to the canvas. A couple of follow-up ground and pound shots later, and Mark Goddard calls off the fight. Izzy complained about the stoppage right in Goddard's face, but honestly, I think it was a good call. Honestly, a great finish for Imavov and a devastating loss for Adesanya. You know, the sport is so crazy, man. Less than 2 years ago in April of 2023, Adesanya was able to win back his middleweight title in his rematch against Alex Pereira after knocking Poatan out. And then when Alex immediately announced that he was moving to light heavyweight after the loss, I felt really confident that Israel was going to run the middleweight division for a long time, but oh, how wrong I was. Like, I definitely didn't expect in the slightest that he was going to get dropped and steamrolled by Sean Strickland in his first title defense of his second title reign. And then when he was set to fight Dricus du Plessis, I did think that DDP was going to walk away with the win, but I really didn't feel confident with my prediction. And as we all know by now, Izzy got overwhelmed by DDP's pressure and was submitted in the fourth round. And if you were to tell me 2 years ago that Adesanya would find himself on a 3-fight losing streak at middleweight after losing to Nasruddin Imavov by second round stoppage, then I would have called you crazy, but here we are in 2025. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that Israel has necessarily gotten his ass kicked throughout this losing streak. I mean, he definitely got his ass kicked by Strickland, let's be real here. But in the DDP and Imavov fights, he had long stretches in each fight where he had the upper hand. I mean, shit, in his fight with Nasruddin, he won like 95% of the fight up until he got finished. And in spite of how good or bad Izzy has looked in his last 3 losses, that doesn't change the fact that this guy is clearly on the decline, and I also think it's important to mention that yes, he's on a 3-fight losing streak, but the guy is also 1-4 in his last 5 fights. With all this being said, I personally think that this might be the right time for Adesanya to hang up the gloves and call it quits. That's not to say that I don't think he'll ever be able to win a fight at middleweight ever again. There's a whole lot of mid-tier middleweights that I think Izzy can beat, but we're currently at a place in his career where he's running the risk of damaging his legacy with very little chance of him reclaiming the title. And sure, before this most recent fight, he was able to say that he's only lost to champions throughout his entire MMA career, but now after his loss to Nasruddin, that's just not the case anymore. Don't get me wrong, I think Imavov is a very good fighter who's improved massively in the last 2 years, but if I'm being honest, I think the likelihood of Imavov ever winning a belt is slim to none. And if you were to match up Izzy against the other middleweight contenders, then I can't help but feel like he would get beat up by Strickland again. I definitely think he would get mauled by Hamzat. He and Whitaker are training partners now, so I guess that's off the table. And frankly, I'm not sure if Adesanya has it in him anymore to beat Caio Borralho if they were ever to fight. Hey, at the end of the day, Father Time is undefeated, and at 35 years old, Israel is one of the oldest fighters in the middleweight top 10. But as much as I do think that age has been a factor in Israel's decline, I also just think that another major contributing factor is that the fighters in his division have just figured out how to beat him. Alex Pereira was able to break down his legs in order to set up a 5th round TKO. Sean Strickland and DDP didn't show Izzy's counter-striking any respect and broke him down with their pressure, and Nasruddin actually took a page out of Strickland's playbook by throwing the same 1-2 combo that dropped Adesanya to the mat. Not only do I think that Israel's aura of invincibility is long gone now, but his tricks and tactics like his check left hook are being exploited by his opponents in order to win the fight. The top tier middleweights of today just don't approach fighting him with the same respect that they used to. The days of Marvin Vettori and Jared Cannonier allowing Adesanya to dictate the pace and flow of the fight are in the past, and nowadays Izzy's opponents just aren't scared of his countering abilities like they used to be. Moreover, I really feel like Israel's chin is just not what it was. I don't know if it's a mixture of him getting older, his long combat sports career that spans over 100 professional fights, or if it was the Alex Pereira TKO, but this guy just doesn't seem to respond to getting hit well at all anymore. In all fairness, the shots from Strickland and Imavov that dropped him were perfectly placed punches that probably would have hurt anybody, but even during his fight with DDP, I feel like Adesanya kind of froze up whenever he got tagged. Especially with the shots in the clinch right before DDP took down and submitted Izzy, the way Adesanya reacted to those punches didn't look like the the same guy that went life and death with Kelvin Gastelum. I mean, it also certainly doesn't help that it seems like Izzy's reflexes have slowed down by quite a bit. I remember when Jorge Masvidal retired, he said something along the lines of that he was getting hit by punches that he used to not get hit with, and I suspect that Adesanya might be experiencing something similar. Israel in his prime was elusive, his vision was immaculate, and his head movement made it really hard for his opponents to get a clean shot on him. But in his last 5 UFC fights, I feel like we've seen him get hit more than in his previous 13 combined. When it's all said and done, this is the nature of sports, MMA included. The old guard is replaced with the new guard. It really is a tale as old as time. And even though I do think that MMA is continuing to improve at an exponential rate, given how relatively young of a sport it is, age and damage are still the biggest culprits when it comes to legends like Izzy losing to the up-and-coming talent. And like I said earlier, I still do think that Izzy can get wins over fighters like Brendan Allen and maybe Roman Dolidze, but now that it's clear that Adesanya can no longer hang at the very top of the division, what's really the point of him continuing fighting? What else does he have to prove to us or himself at this stage in his career? He's been middleweight champion twice, and he's even defended his title 5 times in a row, and at this point, he's cemented as the second best middleweight fighter of all time, at least in my book. But if he continues to fight, then I worry that his legacy and career is going to turn out eerily similar to Anderson Silva, who really should have retired from MMA several years before he did. Because when Anderson's losing streak started, it really seemed like no matter who he fought, he just wasn't able to turn it around. After starting off his UFC career 15-0, Anderson was only able to win 1 fight in his next 9 UFC outings. And mind you, that win over Derek Brunson really should have been counted as a loss in my opinion. And personally, I still do consider Anderson to be one of the greatest fighters of all time, and he's still the best middleweight in history, even in spite of the tail end of his career turning out the way that it did. But Silva is a prime example of a legend who didn't know when to call it quits, and now that Adesanya finds himself riding 3 losses in a row, I wonder if he's going to follow the same path that Anderson did. But look, if Israel doesn't want to retire, then that's his decision. It's his life, his career, and his choice to make. If he wants to keep fighting, then I'll keep tuning in to watch, but I just think that seeing as his time in the sun is clearly over, and while his legacy is still relatively intact, it might be a wise move to retire. Anyways, that's the video for today. Definitely let me know what you think Israel should do at this stage in his career. Do you think it's time for him to hang up the gloves, or do you think that he can still make a run for the title? As always, if you like the video, then like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.